In a revelation that has stunned not only South Africa but also the global community, reports have surfaced that the United States has issued an arrest warrant for President Cyril Ramaphosa. The development is nothing short of extraordinary, marking the first time in the history of democratic South Africa that a sitting president has become the direct target of legal action from a foreign nation. Analysts across the world describe this as a seismic political moment, one that could potentially dismantle the African National Congress's ANC long-standing dominance over South Africa's political landscape. A nation once celebrated as a symbol of democracy and renewal on the African continent now finds itself at the heart of an international scandal that threatens to undo years of fragile progress. According to multiple diplomatic sources, the warrant is linked to corruption, cross-border financial crimes, and alleged involvement in offshore fraud that breaches U.S. financial regulations. While corruption has long plagued South African politics, this case is unprecedented because its reach extends far beyond national borders. For decades, whispers of illicit financial activities swirled through political circles and investigative reports, yet they rarely resulted in tangible consequences. That has now changed. What was once dismissed as rumor has solidified into formal accusations backed by international law enforcement. Reports suggest that the U.S. Department of Justice uncovered a massive network of illegal operations connected to President Ramaphosa and several of his cabinet members. The accusations center on fraudulent contracts, money laundering, and the diversion of foreign aid funds. Leaked diplomatic communications allege that money earmarked for essential programs, including infrastructure development, pandemic recovery, and education for underprivileged schools, was instead funneled into private offshore accounts. The jurisdictions implicated reportedly include tax havens such as the Cayman Islands and Switzerland, indicating deliberate attempts to conceal the financial trail. However, the scandal's reach goes far beyond the president himself. Sources claim that at least 5 senior ANC figures are also facing sealed indictments. These individuals, long regarded as untouchable power brokers within South African politics, are now alleged to have played key roles in the same network of corruption. This deep infiltration of corruption within the governing party has prompted some analysts to argue that the issue extends beyond one man, representing a systemic decay of political morality. The timing of Washington's intervention has also sparked widespread speculation. Some observers believe the U.S. government intends to send an unmistakable warning to Africa's ruling elites that the misuse of foreign aid and corruption involving American financial systems will no longer be tolerated. Others suggest that pressure from whistleblowers and international watchdog organizations forced the Department of Justice's hand, leaving it little choice but to act despite potential diplomatic fallout. A third interpretation ties the decision to broader geopolitical motivations. With political instability spreading through major African economies, Washington is reportedly concerned that unchecked corruption could trigger governmental collapse, creating a domino effect of regional turmoil. By pursuing legal action against Ramaphosa, the United States may be trying to establish a precedent of accountability, showing that even powerful leaders are not immune to justice. Within South Africa, the ANC's reaction has been one of disarray and panic. Emergency meetings were convened at Luthuli House, the party's headquarters, where heated arguments broke out over the best course of action. Veteran members are said to be deeply divided, some insisting that Ramaphosa must be defended at all costs, while others argue that the party's survival depends on distancing itself from him. Insiders described these meetings as emotionally charged, with tears shed as members confronted the possibility of having to sacrifice their sitting president to preserve the party's integrity. Adding to the chaos, Ramaphosa himself was reportedly caught off guard by the news. Sources claim he only learned of the arrest warrant moments before the international media broke the story. His staunchest allies are urging him to secure legal representation and prepare for a protracted legal battle on the world stage, but others fear that continued support for him could ignite public outrage and deepen South Africa's international isolation. For a party already struggling with declining public trust, the stakes could not be higher. Opposition parties wasted no time in capitalizing on the situation. Democratic Alliance, D8 leader John Steenhuisen remarked that international justice had acted where South Africa's own systems had failed. Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, leader Julius Malema was even more direct, posting on social media, "We warned you. Ramaphosa is a criminal and must face the consequences. The nation deserves better." These reactions have further fueled public anger, echoing long-standing frustrations over corruption, inequality, and economic stagnation. For many citizens, the unfolding events confirm suspicions that corruption within the ANC runs far deeper than previously acknowledged, not merely systemic but rooted at the very top. In an attempt to regain control of the narrative, Ramaphosa delivered a brief, carefully worded national address, condemning the charges as a coordinated attack designed to undermine South Africa's sovereignty and destabilize its democracy. While he acknowledged the existence of the warrant, he maintained that all his business dealings were lawful and transparent. Legal experts, however, have cautioned that such arguments are unlikely to hold up in international courts. What caught the public's attention most was the emotional tone of his speech. Ramaphosa declared, "I have served this country with everything I have. And if this is the cost of leadership, then history will be my judge." His solemn words immediately sparked speculation about a possible resignation, with social media erupting in debate over whether the statement was a farewell message or an appeal for sympathy during a politically perilous moment. The global response has been swift. The United Nations urged calm and called for all parties to respect legal due process, while the African Union demanded immediate clarification between the governments of South Africa and the United States. Financial markets, however, responded with alarm. The South African rand plummeted, investor confidence wavered, and fears of prolonged economic instability began to rise. For a country already burdened by high unemployment, inequality, and slow economic growth, this crisis has struck at the worst possible time. Ultimately, this moment represents far more than another political controversy. It is a defining chapter in South Africa's democratic journey. It's a moral and institutional reckoning for both the ANC and the nation itself. The arrest warrant against President Ramaphosa is not only a legal challenge but a test of the country's political integrity. Should the allegations be proven, the resulting breach of public trust could irreparably damage the ANC's legitimacy and reshape the nation's political future. The ruling party now faces a stark dilemma: stand by a tainted leader and risk plunging the country deeper into crisis, or remove him and attempt to rebuild credibility at home and abroad. The choices made in the coming weeks will determine the direction South Africa takes, and whether it can reclaim the ideals upon which its democracy was built.